savage crimes Israel is carrying out against the Palestinian people right now in Gaza. And we are here tonight in New York City, in the country that enables all of this, financially, diplomatically, and militarily. We have a tremendous responsibility to act here and now to stop these crimes. During Israel's 2008 and 2009 massacre in Gaza, that you've seen video of, I stood in front of the Holocaust Museum here in Lower Manhattan with a banner saying, "After the Holocaust, the worst thing that's happened to Jewish people is the state of Israel." This is a quote from Bob Bailey, the leader of the Revolutionary Communist Party, and it speaks for itself. By the way, for doing this, I was surrounded by 24 NYPD squad cars with their lights flashing for hours, detained, threatened, and issued a criminal citation that literally charged me with, and this is a quote on the citation, displaying signs criticizing Israel without a permit. A small concentration of the separate set of rules that apply to anyone who criticizes Israel in academia and in public life and so on. Before I stood outside this museum with that banner, I toured the museum and I spent considerable time in the section of the Holocaust Museum that had documents and photos and descriptions of the Warsaw Ghetto uprising that took place in Nazi-occupied Poland in 1943. The Warsaw Ghetto was a densely populated outdoor prison where the Nazis locked down the surviving Jews in Poland in 42 and 43. Jews were not allowed out, no one was allowed in. Outside the walls, the populace was whipped into and incited to savage hate and fear of the Jews. Illegal smuggling, yes, some through tunnels, was the only way that people could survive. When Nazi troops stormed into the Warsaw Ghetto in 1943, they encountered unexpected resistance. Terrorism, in other words, in the parlance of defenders of Israel. They retaliated by destroying the ghetto block by block, escalating the genocide against the Jews and others who were victims of the Nazi Holocaust. Now, I'm sure you're thinking about the extreme and ominous parallels between what you've seen and heard about what's going on in Gaza and what the Nazis did in the Warsaw Ghetto. But we're not the only ones who see those similarities. In 2008, Israel's Deputy Defense Minister declared that if Palestinians didn't stop their resistance in Gaza, and I quote, "they will bring upon themselves a bigger Holocaust." He didn't just say another Holocaust, he said a bigger Holocaust. And how do you think the US media responded to an Israeli leader openly saying we are going to bring a Holocaust down on the Palestinian people? Did you hear American leaders saying, "Holocaust, that can never happen again"? I didn't. In fact, when I looked into news archives, I found sympathetic descriptions of that incident. Fox News reported, well, you have to understand, Israel's frustrated with Hamas. Genocide? Another Holocaust? Never again can we allow defenders of Israel to pimp off the Holocaust to justify another Holocaust. theater people publicly and courageously spoke out against Israel's genocide in Gaza, John Voight lashed back, saying they were ignorant of the story of Israel's birth. We can't let people get away with that. No. You, John Voight, are ignorant of the whole situation. You were a cheerleader for Bush's war on Iraq. You were a cheerleader for the weapons of mass destruction. Lies. You are ignorant of the whole story of Israel's birth in ethnic cleansing.
Right.
And now you are ignoring how genocide is going on right in front of your face. So shut up, you fucking ignorant. There are two ways to interpret the lessons of the Holocaust. One is, never again will my people be subjected to these things, no matter what crimes we have to carry out against other people. The other lesson comes from the perspective of starting from the interests of humanity. That never again can people be paralyzed by confusion, by denial, by feelings of impotence while terrible crimes are being committed. We must never forget and never forgive the crimes Israel is committing. Just as the Nuremberg trials prosecuted the leaders of the Nazis for war crimes and crimes against humanity, there needs to be another Nuremberg-type trial now to put the leaders of Israel on trial for war crimes and crimes against humanity. Defenders of Israel, apologists for Israel's crimes, shout at us, what about those Hamas rockets? Well, get real. These are small, ineffective rockets going up against one of the most powerful militaries in the world. Look at the death toll. Since Israel began bombing and invading Gaza in July, at this point I guess it's 2,000 Palestinians are dead, mostly civilians, a quarter of them children, hundreds of thousands of desperate people are in UN shelters in Gaza. Stop and think about what that's like. Defenders of Israel argue and make the case, and have gotten away with this far too much. This needs to stop now. They argue that the presence and existence of Islamic jihadist forces in the Middle East, like ISIS, that do not represent a positive alternative in the world, and yes, do enforce brutal repression against women in particular where they're in power, somehow justifies Israel's crimes against the Palestinian people in Gaza. Look, we do need to bring forward another way in this world. We're working on it. You can get deeply into what that can be and how to get there at revcom.us. You can find Baba Bakin's New Synthesis of Communism at revcom.us and Revolution newspaper. And as we unite and struggle against Israel's crimes against the Palestinians, I invite you to make revcom.us part of your life to get to the bottom of what's wrong with this world and how to change that. Let's put things in perspective. The oppressive actions and agendas of jihadist fundamentalist forces are not in the same league with the crimes committed by capitalism, imperialism, historically and today. This is a system built on the enslavement of millions and millions of African people, on the genocide of millions and millions of Native Americans. This system is not a positive alternative to anything. From its inception, Israel has been an agent of that capitalist imperialist system. It has been part of enforcing a world of exploitation and oppression of every kind. around the world, carrying out the dirty work of the United States in places like South Africa under apartheid or Guatemala, look these things up. Israel is not a bastion of enlightenment in the Middle East. It is an enforcer for a world of sweatshops and slums and oppression and exploitation. So I'll return to the point I started with. We here have a tremendous responsibility to stop U.S.-Israel genocidal crimes now. This could be a moment in history, and I've been around to see a few. This could be a moment in history like when most of the world stood by passively during the Holocaust. Or this could be a moment like when people in the United States and around the world stood up in mass and took a powerful stand against the South African apartheid regime, and that movement was a real factor in changing the equation worldwide about apartheid. Which will it be? In critical way, that is up to